Hello everyone, I'm Sarina Fazan and welcome to On the Record, a show where we share incredible stories from inspiring people. On this episode, Empowerment in Action, a nonprofit breaking down barriers and opening doors for people who just need a chance. Please welcome Cindy Bray, the founder of Hope Services. Cindy,
thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sarina.
I've heard so much about your nonprofit, your organization. Please tell us about it, and this all started because of your daughter.
It did. My daughter will be 50 in October, but when we realized she had disabilities, and the older she got, it was like, what do we do for her? What is the next step in life? And so I went through the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation to find out services for her, and I found out it was quite a struggle, and other parents have shared the same struggle. So through that, I really became inspired from her to start Hope Services. We began in 2003.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. So more than 20 years ago. And your daughter's name is Danica,
it's
right?
Danica.
It's Danica, beautiful name.
Thank you.
Beautiful mom.
Thank you.
So how does Hope Services then work?
Well, as we have grown through the last 21 years, we found that hope is a positive future for everyone. And there's a job out there for everyone. And we want to see everyone to succeed. And that's our goal in life. Everyone that steps over the threshold of Hope Services, we want to help them to succeed. And we want to help them to empower them to be happy, healthy individuals into our community. So we work with persons living with disabilities and those struggling in the community to help them to become employable.
Wow. So, and not only become employable, you pay some of the employers, correct?
We do. We have a contract with the Department of Education with vocational rehabilitation. We have two programs that we work with that we pay for them to work for an employer. One of them is called Work-Based Employment Services, and that's for our youth. Those are students that are ages 14 to 21 that are still in school. They will either have an IEP or a 504 plan, which identifies them with a disability. And they go through vocational rehabilitation. They come to Hope Services. One of our employment specialists will then assist them with where they have their strongest desires or abilities and help them to become employed there with an employer. And for 120 hours, they will be trained by that employer. And we pay whatever the employer would normally pay an employee, that's what we pay. And once a month, we send them a check for their hours earned.
That's incredible. So for the older, you know, like they're not in school.
Right.
Is there a similar program?
There is.
For them?
We can do on-the-job training for someone who's finished high school. Also, again, to help them to become employed, help them to know their skills and abilities. Sometimes their skills and their abilities don't match up with what they're capable of doing, but we want to help them to succeed. So we'd start out with on-the-job training. Once we pass that, sometimes the employer just hires them.
Wow, isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it is. It's a joy. It still brings joy to my heart every time an employment specialist calls and tells me someone is becoming employed.
Oh.
It's such a joy. It really is.
And with that, you also pay for them as well, correct?
We pay them during on-the-job training, but once they become employed, then they will be hired by the employer, and the employer will pay them then.
So what about some employers, you know, might say, what about, you know, the insurance? What about the background checks? What about all of that? Does Hope Services also do everything on the back end?
No, that would be the employer would do that. We would only do that if it's required through on-the-job training. But once they're employed, and we carry a liability insurance policy on each on-the-job training person. But once they become employed, the employer then takes over the benefits.
So Cindy, let me ask you, I mean, how is this, I just commend you so much. I mean, how is it funded?
Well, it's funded through the Department of Education with vocational rehabilitation. I have a contract with them. Also, we started a scholarship fund. One of my dear friends who was with what I call my dream team, and they're the ones that help me with our programs that we offer scholarship funds for. And we have a scholarship fund, so there again, no one will ever go over the threshold of Hope Services without receiving services. So if they don't have an IEP or a 504 or they don't qualify for vocational rehabilitation, they can still come to Hope Services, and we will run them through our scholarship program.
Wow, so how, 21 years, again, congratulations with Hope Services. How many people are in your program? How much has it grown?
Well, it started out little old me. Now we have 17 employees.
Wow, Cindy, that's fantastic.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A year and a half ago, we opened our first Life Skills Vocational Training Center. That was a dream and vision of mine. Back in 2018, we worked with a group of people, young people, and every program we did with them, the parents said, "What's next? What's next?" And I didn't have a what's next. And it just really hurt my heart that I didn't have a what's next. So I opened up a vocational rehabilitation center, and it's in Land O'Lakes. And we offer specific courses in there to help the what's next for them. We have a culinary arts class, and it's a 20-hour class, and they walk away with the Serve Safe certificate from there. So they can go into a restaurant and start working with the Serve Safe certificate. We have an 80-hour course that we will begin this fall or maybe early next year, and that will be in construction. And when they finish that 80 hours, they will have a certificate in basic construction skills. And then they can be hired in with a contractor and make good money working for a contractor.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, absolutely right now. And, you know, we say sometimes AI can't do any contracting either, right? When it's actually physically there. But Cindy, this goes to what an amazing mom you are. I mean, taking action with Danica. So how old was she? Going back to that and to the root of this amazing organization, how old was she when all of this started coming to life?
Well, she was diagnosed with a disability as very, very young. She was an infant when she was diagnosed. It was not at birth. We'll know when we get to heaven, but we think that she had probably viral meningitis and it wasn't detected. And so after several surgeries and several doctor appointments and trying to figure out what was wrong with her, we finally came to a conclusion, but by then she's 4 years old, ready to go to kindergarten, and she was delayed. And it was just too struggling for her and for my husband and I to put her into a regular school. So she ended up in special needs classes, which was a real benefit for her because she had some real strengths, and one of her strengths is reading. And so she could read much better than some of the other students, even though coloring and cutting and writing was difficult for her, she still had some strengths. So she excelled more in some areas. As we're putting her in the mainstream kids, she would just fail with all the kids. So we wanted to see her excel. And as she reached 16, it was like, don't you think you should get a job?
Right.
So we lived in Lexington, Kentucky when she was 16. So we took her to Kroger, and she hired in at Kroger. So she worked at Kroger until we moved to Florida 24 years ago. So she worked there 8 years.
Wow. And then, but here you are helping countless people, I'm sure, like your daughter, with Hope Services.
Right.
We have so much more to talk about, and we're inviting some special guests on the show as well
Thank you.
to continue this wonderful conversation. So stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back.